we would cover the cost of the building plus it.
Yeah, and then you have to.
Then there would still be ticket sales on top of that. So
Just download it.
yeah,
Well,
I got it now.
that's what you want to do. I forget how I downloaded.
Yes, that would be good.
See, you just download it.
Well,
One screen. I think that's good enough for me for a while.
okay.
If it was outside, it wouldn't work. But you can
It
correct
would be
that.
basic.
Location still up here.
Yeah.
There's another app.
I think it could be a good draw or to do testing.
Aaron's out walking him around.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
thinking I'm gonna try to see if I can get mine.
So you know you'll pull that collar off his head
100-pound Doberman.
and full of.
Yeah.
Oh, he knows. He's got it.
There's a good one right there. Like, so if I wanted to, they always want to know what grid you're on. Think that's it.
Right. There's the album right now.
But they always ask, you know what I'm saying, if we're doing this stuff, they always want to know that. Dang, there's a million things. Did you see all the
That was just, you know, make sure.
Hey, you look all shaved up, cleaned up.
Good morning, Ron. I'll show you that real quick. So our church, our men's group at church.
Okay.
We're putting on a community appreciation day car show stuff. I thought it'd be cool if we could get the van there because we're gonna have some kids there and stuff. We're gonna do different activities and stuff. If that's a possibility.
Do I need to,
Maybe make a see if anyone would be interested in the van being there. If you want to announce it too.
let's see.
Right, right. I know his visuals. Yeah, see, he won't do it.
So is this like a fundraiser for,
Yeah, it's a fundraiser for our men's ministry.
okay. So you think it'd be just good to have the club van there? Or mainly, see if David could, May 20th. That's a ways from now.
Yeah.
April. But let's talk about this a little bit, and then
Okay.
because we got April, we could bring it up. There's no like deadline to sign up to participate.
No, and like the van, I'm in charge of it, so there's
Okay. I mean, it'd be good to have the van showing out and stuff. So
another event to get in the public, I guess.
yeah. So let's definitely bring that up.
Another thing I learned. Sometimes you probably should. They won't say it or you should know. I'm going to the hotel.
Morning, everybody. It's 9:30, so let's get started. Everybody find a seat. I'd like to welcome everybody here and I'd like to start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. I pledge allegiance. All right. I'd like to start the meeting off, every meeting off with the introduction, everybody. I am Mark Coster, KG5 NWE. Let's see, Adair, you want to start off there?
Adair, KD5 DYP.
David, KC5 VGW.
Joseph, NJ0E.
Johnny, KI5UQA.
Terry, why from Johnny?
Eric Brown, KI5 BMX.
Rod, KI5KGC.
Leo, N9QU.
Daryl, KI5IJ.
Joyce, wife and Harold, and call sign.
Tim, WB5BUL.
David, KI5HAN.
Jan, KG5SNW. Melinda, KG5NWD.
Eddie, N5SUJ.
Jim, KD5UBT. Mike, W5MHE.
Pepper, KI5IEQ.
Larry, KI5TUB.
Van, W8YYE.
Mari, W5UGQ.
Barry, W5UGR.
Hi, Raymond, W5RAW.
Lloyd, KG5RHI.
Ava, with him.
Brian.
Oh, Teresa, nothing yet.
Okay.
I'm W5WFE.
All right, welcome everyone. Anybody here for testing? Okay. We have one, and that's for the tech, I would assume. Melinda, you want one for testing today?
Oh, one for testing,
Yep.
which level?
Tech.
Okay, thank you.
And so we'll need VEs for tech testing, so Pepper and all right. And make sure everybody signs into the sign sheet so we have a record of you being here, and we also use it for giveaway at the end. Then I want to thank everybody for the coffee and donuts. People have been putting enough money in the kitty so I don't have to pocket any of it for a donut. So thanks for that. So appreciate that, and should be plenty of coffee back there. Next thing is the approval of the last meeting's minutes. There's copies floating around on the tables. Take a quick perusal of that. Anybody see any errors or corrections that need to be taken care of?
Those are my call sign.
Your call sign's incorrect? Is it?
Yeah. The KI.
That's important.
Then you got it on the van report, you got VGC.
Oh, talk about dyslexic. It was your day. Okay. Got it.
Anything else? I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the last month's minutes as corrected.
So moved.
You got a second on that? Pepper? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, so the next thing is the financial report. Adair? Good.
Good morning. Here with your daily or your monthly dose of daily or boring numbers. So far for the month of March, we've received $128.46. We ended up in February receiving $153.46. And so far for February or March, we haven't had any expenses. I know we do have a few things coming up, not only for Swap Fest, but some van expenses and things like that. So those will show up next month. So makes for a pretty short report in that pretty much leaves us with a bank balance in the checking account of $5,934.20. The 180-day CD is unchanged at $4,016.28. The 365-day CD at $2150.76, and $200 cash since I finally made a deposit yesterday. So that's pretty much where we're at. We're sitting. I looked last night, checked on the Ham Club Online members, and we're sitting at 86 active members. There's 3 people that expired last month. I usually let those hang around for 2 or 3 months before I actually remove them as active, just so they can catch a meeting or jump online and pay. If anybody needs to check their dues, you're welcome to hit me up after the meeting. And I think that's really it. So any questions, comments about the report? We need to approve the report. That's it. Thank you.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That definitely carried. All right. Committee reports. Dan, would you like to?
It's gonna take me about as long to do the report as it did to walk up here. I was out of town for about half of February, so I didn't get to experience the high winds and the dirt and all the good stuff that went along with that. But I do understand that our repeaters stayed up, didn't lose power, antennas are still on the towers. I know that there were some folks, Adair and others, who got out and tested over the air to make sure that the repeaters were still on the air. So thanks to you guys who did that. This past Tuesday, I got a phone call from David with some information that I thought was interesting. He was at the Valero refinery in Sunray and had mentioned that he could hear the north repeater.
Oh, I could hit it.
Oh, you hit it and received it with what, like an S8 or thereabouts?
Yeah,
I think you said.
that's in certain places.
Van report, Nate, David?
It'd be about a short. Oh, he's fine. I'm not that quiet.
I didn't mean it like that.
On the van report, went down to go pick up the blend or get the blend door coming, and actually the price that they quoted me and the price of the blend door was different. So I had to get a check reissued for less. It was about $30-40 less. We're also went to go cycle the generator and stuff on the van, and it's time we replace the battery on the generator side of the van. It's I think it's been deep cycled a few too many times. So I'll work on getting that pulled off, get the size of the battery, and start getting some prices for a battery for it. Unless Mark already he may still have the battery size on it. It is starting to warm up, so when we do get a day it's in the 70s and 80s and no wind, or we can find a big shop where it's nice and warm. I'd like to get to working on those stickers, but that's one of the deals. We just can't do the stickers when it's cold. There's no way to get that glue off. So.
You can pull it inside my shop at the warehouse too, though.
Okay.
Not my shop, but my warehouse. So.
We'll coordinate. So, other than that, that's about it. Any kind of questions? Right.
Thank you, David. Contesting. Eric?
America, KI5BMX, and the contest report. We are now getting into state QSO time of the year. So, as we go, right now you have the ARRL DX single side band going on. That's today and tomorrow. So, Ray, how many contacts you have so far? None?
Started yesterday at 6, and I didn't even get on the air.
Okay, then on March 11th and 12th, you have Oklahoma, Idaho, and Wisconsin's state QSO parties. The Virginia QSO party is on March 18th and 19th, and then the CQW Worldwide SSB is on March 25th. That's all I could see that jumped out to me. Any extras? Nope. Oh, that was short and sweet. Thanks.
We're moving quick today.
Thank you, Eric. Emergency communications. Marcy, did you have anything do you want to speak to?
Tim Pillsbury?
Front and center. Here he comes.
I don't have anything.
She'll talk about the Endow that her and Daryl went to.
We talked about it last month.
I would say something about that. Chip called me the other day, and he is working on the 4.2.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's got some stuff that he needs to take to Midland. He asked me if I'd take it when we go to look at this.
I think the 4.2, I think he needs a duplexer and he's working on the PA.
Right, that's correct. So it may be down.
It is right now.
Yeah.
Mark, if you'll just make a reminder about the meeting.
I'm sorry.
If you'll make a reminder about the meeting.
Would you do that for me, please? Good and loud.
If anybody would like to join us on Monday at 6:30 PM at the Red Cross, we have an emergency communications meeting. And there will be an awful lot to go over. If you have any questions, let me know. I can text you or I can meet you on Slack.
Oh, there's a bit of a snack.
At the Red Cross?
Sometimes there is in the fridge.
That's a good idea.
Say again, what time was that? 6?
6:30,
6:30?
but we socialize beforehand, so if anybody wants to show
Is
up.
that every Monday or just once a month?
It's the first Monday of the month.
Okay. All right. Anybody interested in that? It'd be good to attend to that. All right, next item on the agenda is old business. Our nonprofit status, to give you an update. I filed Form 990 with the IRS for fiscal year 2022 on February the 17th, so that is done. I took some more documents to the lawyer that she was asking for and information, and we've got that done. So she'll be working on that. So it's progressing. The next item is on the agenda is Lamar Science Day is March 31st. It's an all-day event. Lunch and snacks are provided. You must register with the Amarillo Independent School District as a volunteer if you want to know how to do that. Melinda would be glad to help you with that. And if anyone is interested in participating in Science Day, there are Science Day t-shirts available. So also get with Melinda. That needs to be done pretty quick, but you can get is there any cost to that?
Yes, they don't have enough money this year to give everybody one.
Okay, but if you want one of those t-shirts, and trying to think of what else, but if you've got a good idea of a project, come see me or Melinda, and it's actually a very rewarding experience. You sit down, and the way it progresses is we sit in a classroom, and the kids come, and you spend about 10 minutes with each different group. There'll be, 2 groups to each class time?
Yeah.
Approximately.
Yeah. And
So-
they're smaller groups, and you can even go outside if you need to show them something like fox hunt or the band is there or whatever.
So the things we've done in the past are a fox hunt. We also use an SDR on a laptop to show transmitting on a handy talkie, to show the kids I always say it, rainfall, is that correct? Waterfall. I'd always get that backwards. Yeah, there we go. And then, we got little Altoids keyers. I should have bought one. So someone that's, somewhat good at Morse code, it'd be good if you would participate and, demonstrate the kids Morse code. We hand out little Morse code cards, and some of the teachers in the past have given the kids a little test, have them Morse code their names and stuff. So it's a very rewarding day. Any other kind of thing you think of?
Oh, they keep you going with water, snacks, and hamburger lunch.
So anyway, March 31st, that's on a Friday. Encourage to participate in that. Next item on the old business is Swap Fest coming up. It's May 6th. We're going to try and do something different this year. Instead of having it out at the park, we're going to have an indoor location so we can do testing and maybe a little class and such. So we haven't nailed that down exactly, but check the website, etc., for where that location is, and we're going to get that nailed down pretty quick.
If you're looking for locations, like recommendations for one, there's that WT Center downtown. I went there last
Okay.
night yesterday.
Go talk to us after the meeting and we'll get that on the list. We got several places we're looking at. New business. All right. I looked at the club documents and stuff, and we're required anytime the club enters into a memorandum of understanding that the whole club needs to vote on it. And what we need to do, we've been had a good relationship with the Red Cross for the last couple of years, and the ARRL has an MOU with the American Red Cross nationally, and it's already signed. It's the agreement that they have, and within that agreement they have an attachment C that is set up for local clubs or local areas to enter into an agreement with the local Red Cross. And so what I'd like to do is read what we're going to do, what we propose. The executive committee went over this and suggested that we go ahead and do this. The thing that the local chapter is going to do is they're going to incorporate PARC in its response plan, provide preparedness training opportunities, providing shelter training, and they also will provide space for office and communication equipment to PARC. Our agreement would be provide personnel when available to assist with communications in support of disaster relief roles as agreed upon, expand their communication support to other activities within the disaster response system when personnel are available. Example, disaster assessment and ER van communications.
Emergency response.
And then assist the chapter house basic cleaning of office, bathrooms, and kitchen space. Basically, clean up after ourselves when we're using the facilities. And the other thing I added was all communication equipment and accessories provided by PARC or individuals remain the property of PARC or the individuals. Betsy Cornett, I've met with her. She's the head of the local Red Cross chapter, I guess that's what it's called. I've got it written here somewhere. She is really gung-ho to work with us. I know Marcy and a lot of people have been working there. Raymond, I think you, well, I'll miss somebody's name, but this is, we've been having a really good relationship with American Red Cross. So with that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion that we enter into this agreement for, it'll be for 1 year, and for the MOU. Do I have anybody that would like to,
Will you entertain questions or comments before we vote?
pardon, Marcy, I can,
Would you entertain a few questions before we vote?
yeah, but get a motion, then we'll have a discussion, sure. Aaron, you'd make the motion that we, do that. Do I have a second?
Yep.
David? All right, any discussion on it, Marcy?
I have a question.
Okay.
When we enter into this agreement, what are the benefits to the club?
Well, basically what it is, it's not a document that, is legally binding. It even specifies in here that it's not, you can't enforce in a court. The whole purpose of it is to, just so there's an understanding that if there's equipment down there, that it still belongs to the people it belongs to, that they're willing to give us space at the building.
So one of the benefits of the club entering into any kind of agreement with the Red Cross is that they have allowed us a time and a place and a key to the building to use for makerspace, to use as a station, to train, to hold classes for amateur radio, to teach any number of things. We've had use of their copier and been able to benefit in a lot of ways. Having said that, what are the risks to the club? By entering into an MOU, which has been done before, what is the risk to the club?
They're just minimum. I don't really see that there's any risks at all.
No risk, really.
I would just like to bring up the other side of that coin. By entering into this, we know that the Red Cross goes and comes in cycles. Their leadership changes. Betsy has been extremely enthusiastic and welcoming. The next person who comes or the one after that might not be. If they are not, then we would, at some point in the future, another decade or so, the things would change and we'd have to get our stuff out again and come up with a new place and a new way to do all the things that we plan and do out there. So just keep in mind, yes, there is a huge benefit, but there is also a cycle that is proven over decades to be a pattern. And Betsy's enthusiastic and opens us with warm and welcoming arms. But if the day comes where we have to remove our equipment and no longer have use of the facilities, just be aware it could happen. We enjoy it while we can, but if it is taken from us, it's taken from us.
Isn't that why we have an MOU though?
It's not a
Here.
binding contract,
It's
so
not
no, not
binding.
really.
I understand that.
Let-
but
let-
we have a memorandum of
It's one
understanding.
step closer to more solid.
Well, he said yearly.
Let me read this actually the last paragraph. Neither party to this statement of cooperation has the authority to act on behalf of the other party or bind the other party to any obligation. This statement of cooperation is not intended to be enforceable in any court of law or dispute resolution forum. The sole remedy for non-performance under this statement of cooperation shall be termination with no damages or penalty. So,
Basically, handshake.
Lynn?
Yeah, on the risk side, I've had some folks in there that they've eventually locked out because stuff went missing. You wanna talk about a risk to the club, yes, we have it in a separate room, but a lock is only as good as the effort to defeat it. And you can defeat that lock with a paperclip. So is there risk to the club? Yes. If somebody decided that we didn't either lock that door or they're gonna get locked out and they're looking for stuff to carry off. And by entering into that MOU, you're accepting that risk.
Great, it'd just be,
Except the managers just have equipment.
it,
So there is no difference.
Right.
Mike,
so Aaron?
may I come up there and explain something real quick? I was in the military, I filled out so many MOUs, I could explain exactly how they work if you'd like.
Sure.
So I will admit I haven't actually read through this agreement that's going to be with the Red Cross, but in my experience, generally all an MOU is done, all an MOU is used for, is simply as a form of record so that both parties are aware of what has been agreed upon. Basically, it's not a guarantee, it's not a warrant, a covenant, anything like that. It's simply a memorandum or a message of understanding between two parties. In this case, the radio club and the Red Cross. That's it. There is no. It's not a legally binding document. It is so in case something happens and one person brings administrative action one party brings up administrative action against or legal action against another party. All it does is say, hey, this is what we agreed upon, and it's a matter, in this case, public record. Because it's between two public entities. That's really all an MOU is. It's not a warranty. It's not a legally binding document, not a contract. It's just so both parties know what's being agreed upon. That's it. Thank you.
I mean, risk-wise, like I said, our stuff has already been there. If it's gonna walk off, it's gonna walk off. We just accept the fact. If you walk out of the Jeep, or in the van's sitting in a public place. It has cameras watching it, but somebody could smash out the window and take it. I mean, that's just a risk we accept.
Okay, any
I don't
other,
think the club has anything in there right now anyway.
John?
Most of it's almost.
Well, no, John, I recognize John first.
I was just gonna give an example of a scenario where an MOU will help you. Like, let's say the Red Cross suddenly replaces their leadership tomorrow. We don't get notified about it, right? We have a key, somebody goes down there, they think you're breaking in, they send the cops, you get arrested, right? Because nobody knows, right? The MOU says, hey, the radio club and the Red Cross had this agreement in place, and it just serves as a record that, there was nothing going wrong. I'm not trying to say this contrived scenario should ever happen, but it's the kind of thing that, if there's anything funny that does happen, say the Red Cross, grabs our radios and hauls them off, we can say, hey guys, can you give those back, please? We have this agreement with you. Again, not legally binding, but it helps as a document of records in case there's ever any kind of conflict between those two entities about what was happening or who had agreed on what.
Yes.
Okay,
That's a good.
thanks, John, that's a good explanation. Jim, did you?
Yes, related to this, in the last meeting or two, someone mentioned that, we would be looking into the possibility of somehow acquiring our own building. And this would relate to our relationship with the Red Cross or somebody. Is this, underway? Is anybody kind of poking around and seeing what's out there?
It's in discussion, but there's nothing in the horizon that'll happen, but
This is like a pipe dream.
Mike?
We need to establish a written record of who owns what, so that if some new administrator comes in, there won't be any question of who that belongs to.
All we need is an itemized inventory signed by an executive, and any non-club property that is stored there or done there would be a separate MOU or some sort of form from that member or the person to the club.
Is that something that needs to be attached to the MOU?
Well,
It's something that would need to be discussed further.
at this point, there's no club equipment that I know of that's there. It's all personal equipment. Is that correct?
As far as what I know.
Yeah,
Everything
so,
people bought with their call sign anyway. Right on it.
Currently, there's no actual club equipment.
Right.
yeah, so, anybody else? Yes?
I'm new, so I need to ask a question. The thing is, if there is a disaster here, what affiliation does this club assist the Red Cross? Are we calling, reason I bring this up, back when first of all, I'm an ER trauma certified paramedic and EMT, that a bunch of us nurses went to Oklahoma when the bombing occurred in Texas. Well, I had some of the most I even had 2 I'm willing to volunteer. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm not afraid of bullets. And man, we had a group that went down there on a bus, and then we were turned away because we had all the training and certificates and everything, but we couldn't help them. They needed us, but you've got to be affiliated with somebody in that type of situation, so.
The National ARRL document talks to that a little bit about who's responsible for what in the understanding. I would encourage you, if you're going to get involved with the Red Cross, to go to the website and look at that. It kind of spells it out pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
As far as the club affiliation with Red Cross directly, PARC specifically, is, I think what he's asking, is there a direct affiliation, correlation there? The answer to that is currently no.
Okay.
There is a secondary thing that with emergency communications, and I can talk with you later on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I will get you plugged in and you will be affiliated, but it's not directly from the PARC to the Red Cross as a response person in the name of PARC.
It kind of goes around. But there's
Any other discussion on that?
Can we get that document and have it put online for anyone can review it if they need to download that anyway?
It ought to be on the line anyway.
It is. Oh, it is.
One
Yeah.
thing that I have a local document,
Daryl?
one thing that I have, I mean, since the emergency communication thing that's going on, I mean, I know there's people that have went before us, and again, how that's went. However, one of the things that's been mentioned, and like I say, it's currently getting built from the ground up, was a call sign like we have for the club, that would be utilized in this location, for the Red Cross, and we currently do not have that I know of. I mean, that's maybe a little bit too much along that.
I think at this point, if there was communications going from the Red Cross to their main place, it would be the personal call sign of the person running the station. So, anything else? Well, I'd like to call the question, all those in favor of the motion to enter an MOU agreement with the local Red Cross between PARC and the local chapter, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thanks, everybody. Good discussion. Any other new business anybody needs to bring up? Then, pardon?
Anybody not signed in?
Yeah, make sure everybody signs in. And the next thing is the program.
I was trying to find something that we could talk about. We've never really talked about this, and I saw this video on the main ARRL website or their YouTube channel. I thought it was really interesting. The first 20, 30 minutes of it is he gives a history of I guess Bell Labs and how they determined. And then he goes into the settings and stuff. I thought it was really interesting. So, watch your video.
For being here with us. We appreciate it. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here at the main virtual Hamfest. The floor is yours.
All right, well, thanks, everybody. I love coming to the virtual meetings. We've done nearly 200 of them since last March, and many on tap. It's information that we really need, but seldom read or hear about it, so get your pencils out. But first, we're going to start off with just a little bit of my history. I started playing the organ when I was 12, and you're going to say, well, what's that got to do with all this? It has a lot to do with it because at the age of 14, I got a job at a restaurant playing on the weekends, making quite a bit of money, which helped me pay for my stuff that I bought at Walter Ash Radio later on. A year after that, I became the organist at the St. Louis Fox Theater. Now, why this is all important is that Fox organ hadn't been played in 20 years. And Stan Can, who was the regular organist there, he hired me to not only play some of the substitute shows, but you'll notice all of those pipes. Well, that's just a few of them. That organ has 4,000 plus pipes in it. Hadn't been tuned or voiced in all those years. So there we had to voice and tune those. What's so important about it, and what really was the basis of two of my careers, we had to learn to listen. As we went up and down each one of the pipes, you see those brass trumpets right there. One couldn't be muffled, one couldn't, the next one couldn't be bright. You had to, as a voicer, you had to pick what they should sound like all across the rank. So it taught me how to listen. Listening is a mental process, and many people don't know how to listen. They just hear. Hearing is a physical process. Listening is getting in and digging into what you hear, all of the many nuances that happen, the harmonics and so on. Very important in amateur radio. But that same year, I got an amateur radio license, and I went off like crazy. I loved this hobby. I had such a great time getting started. One of my school chums had gotten his license, so why not me? So I'm playing the organ in the evenings. Barely went to school. I did graduate, but not top honors, but I didn't care. Where you're looking at my college education. It really was, as you're going to learn here in a little while. But the whole thing was that I was just enthralled with what was going on with all of the stuff in ham radio. And I got into it very early of the biggest sunspot cycle. And I was a technician for 17 years. I didn't need to go listen and work 20 meters. I didn't have to do that. A technician license in those days had a very different meaning. It was where the technical things happened. We did a lot of building and experimenting. That wasn't happening on the low bands as much. So I was very fortunate that I started off as a young kid learning how to build. That was just so important to me. But I'd gotten into the market, or started actually around 65. I got into the market of building sound systems for the rock and roll groups, and we're talking about a lot of different ones, such as the Grateful Dead and many of the country artists. I helped all those people. But we were building massive sound systems, and how I learned to do that was, of course, ham radio. But then we kept moving into more major groups, Jeff Beck and Humble Pie, Beach Boys, Les Paul, and on and on. But we were the first people to do tours with a semi. Before that, the bands were coming in pickup trucks and Volkswagen vans, and it was that. And I also acquired a Greyhound bus, and we put 11 beds in it so we could sleep our staff as we went city to city. So at the end of this, I have to show you this. What group is that? Very few people ever guess it. I don't think I've ever had anybody guess it, actually. That's ZZ Top without beards. It was their first tour. That was one of our first dates with them. But we're still with them. Many of these groups, I'm doing their microphones today, and still great friends. I became friends of a lot of these people. And so it just went on and on and on and on. But the word was getting out about Heil Sound as to what was happening and what we were doing, because I didn't know this, but we were at the front of that whole large PA system for arenas and concert halls and so on, all because of ham radio. I used to have answer the question. We'd go into these big halls with a semi. We were the first people to do that. And go, what is all of this? And the people would always ask me, well, where'd you learn to do all this? What school did you go to? I didn't go to school, college or anything. He said, well, where'd you learn it? Amateur radio. No, where'd you learn to do this? Amateur radio. you don't understand. I said, no, you don't understand. I learned how to do this from building amateur radio gear and antennas and all of that. It was really something. But we had a lot of things going on in those days. And I just truly enjoyed what amateur radio had brought to me in those early days. I was an antenna nut. We were always doing something that was quite unordinary. I had these loving parents. Of course, I was making good money, and so I had a 110-foot Roan with a 36-foot long Telerex. That's a very interesting Telerex antenna, though. That antenna was a spiral array, and what we were talking about was the antenna wasn't all horizontal or vertical. And the theory was this: when your signals leave an antenna, they don't stay in that plane. They might turn over 2 or 3 times in polarity. So sometimes you hear big fades. They didn't lose power. They've changed polarity, which you don't have a lot of choice with, actually. But atop that 110-foot Roan, this spiral array performed extremely well, and it allows the signal to leave at different attitudes. And so it might be half horizontal, half vertical. It really worked, and it worked really good. That was a spiral array. Because of all this, I was the first single sideband station, one of the first 10, the first single sideband stations on 6 meters and 2 meters. I had built it all. One of the engineers at KMOX Radio in St. Louis guided me through this, taught me how to build, use a grid dip meter and all that. That's a Johnson 6 and 2 Thunderbolt that I had built after I had built the 6-meter transverter. Well, I got a call from Bob Drake of the Drake Company, and he said, "You the guy that's got that monster signal on sideband 6 meters?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "We'd like for you to come to our club meeting." Okay. He said, "We hold this club meeting once a year. It's a technical meeting. We present papers, and so we want you, if you can do this, come to us and give us a technical report on how you built the sideband rig." There's where I learned that I was only one of 10 that they had figured. Where was it? Well, it was at the Dayton Hamvention. That was the start of the Dayton Hamvention in Dayton, Ohio. And it was just incredible for this young kid, because they had taken all the furniture out of one of the floors. They had the Collins room, the Drake room, the Halcrafter room, the Central Electronics, Mosley, but the people were all there. And these were people that I had been reading about in magazines, and they were like celebrities to me. I'm just a kid. And it was really amazing for me. At that particular show, a guy came to me from the UK. He was with the J-Beam company, and he said, "We're looking for somebody that could help us test a big antenna that we built. Would you want to do that?" I said, "Absolutely." So they sent over their 128 element J-Beam. I was very fortunate that just south of me, I was in Marissa, Illinois, 50 miles southeast of St. Louis. The Motorola dealer, just a few miles away from me, helped me with a lot of this, because he knew how to do the phasing lines and all that. And there was another guy, K9EBA, he was a construction guy. He had cranes and booms and all of that. And so these guys helped me. This was a separate tower. It was 40 foot high and it was 40 foot wide. These are all amazing things for a young kid, I have to tell you. But it really advanced quickly. The station advanced. But see down at the bottom of that picture, the SB62, that was the first band switching transverter I had built. And then because of all the notoriety that that station had kilowatt on 6 and 2 meter sideband. It was, I didn't know it, I was just having fun. I became one of the editors for CQ magazine. And this is how rare VHF single sideband was. There weren't many of us there. And you couldn't go out and buy a sideband rig for those frequencies. You had to build it. So this was a place for the serious VHFers to come to, because we shared all of our schematics and how we built things. And that was the perfect place for experimenting. I also, at the same time, wrote for a magazine called VHF Amateur. For this particular issue, I built a real simple 6 meter transverter that anybody could have built. Only had 3 tubes, about a dozen resistors, and half a dozen capacitors or so, and a 6360 in the final. So that was my beginning, and it was pretty serious, I have to say. But at the same time, I mentioned that I also, in 1959, I got a job also at the Holiday Inn in St. Louis. It was the largest Holiday Inn in the chain, had 600 rooms on one floor. And I built a pipe organ in the restaurant. There was a 4-star German restaurant, Schneidor's, very famous restaurant in St. Louis. And all the pipes were behind glass so you could see them while you listened. All of the things on that piano, all of the drums and the cymbals, they were operated from pinball solenoids that I got from a pinball machine company. Of course, I built all that, had them all under the keys of the piano. They all played from that console. So things really did start moving for me. My career as an organist was quite interesting. But the situation was that I went all through the rock and roll days, and it was incredible. I'll come back and talk to you if you'd like to hear sometime. There's some amazing stories. But you're looking at a guy that's never tasted beer. I've never smoked anything. And for gosh sakes, no drugs. To this day. I just turned 80. I know I look like I'm 50 and act like I'm 12, but that's okay. But I had some incredible experiences. But we're here to talk about how to help you. And some of those beginnings, you'll understand, that's how I learned. Well, one day, I got a call, this was in 1972, and it was Paul Klitsch. I'm going, whoa, this is like God on the other end of this phone, God of audio. He was the guy that really brought hi-fi to the public, and he built some of the first K-horns, he called it. They were corner horns, 16 foot. You put them in your corner of your room, but you had to have 8 foot on the left and 8 foot on the right. And your room actually was the last of the speaker. It was an experience if you never heard or experienced one. But he wanted to know, like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? I figured he was going to cut me off at the knees, but no. All day was, how come you do this? He'd never seen anything. It was a 10,000 watt PA. He was an efficiency freak. He could do 110 dB with a 1 watt, but this was a little different deal, and he had never seen anything like this. And I was extremely blessed. I was blessed by many things that came into my life just at the right time. And he took me into his arms, so to speak, and I became a student and an incredibly good friend. I go down to Hope, Arkansas anytime I had a question. Well, he flew me down to Hope after that day and started talking about some of the things that I just had never heard about. And I'm sure you haven't either. That's why I'm here. So you might want to get out your pencils, because I have some facts, but I also have some great demonstrations that you're going to never forget, and they will help you. First of all, Paul was telling me about the idea factory of the 1920s. Bell Labs was a consolidation of AT&T and Western Electric. Those two companies formed the Bell Labs. They had 4,000 scientists and engineers, and they were assigned to this newly created Bell Telephone Labs. They were, now catch this, don't miss this. They were fully dedicated to researching how the human ear worked and what frequencies were most important to understand the spoken word. We're going to do that again. They were researching how the human ear worked and what frequencies were most important to understand the spoken word. You see, the deal there was they were building the telephone system. Let me change microphones. Here's the deal. They put this telephone system together. They ran two wires from New Jersey all the way to California. Every 50 miles. Now think about this. These are things that just intrigue the heck out of me, and I usually learn something every day about some of those things. Every 50 miles across America, they had put relay stations. It kept the voltage up. It kept the current up. You know what they heard? It was like modulation, distortion, big bottom end. It's like, what happened? It's linear all the way across America. What's going on here? And so, the 4,000 scientists that were led by a Dr. Munson and Dr. Fletcher, they got into this problem to see why. Do you have a guess as to what was wrong with it? Not a darn thing wrong with all of the equipment and the installation. These guys, what do you mean? I hear fine. Well, do you? These guys said no. So they put the two lead guys on, Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Munson. This is what they discovered about your ears. All of us, the human being. The bone structure, the way it sits down in through there. You will notice that at different levels, it's better. Up at 110 dB, it's almost flat. That's why kids like to listen to music loud. They hear all the symbols, they hear all the vocals, they can understand the words, all of these things. Wow. But down here where you're listening today at like 20 dB, look like a ride at Disneyland. But the most important thing to note, look at the 2K, 2 to 5K, look at it, it's in the basement. These are your ears. Why is that so important, Bob? Because this is what the 4,000 scientists discovered. Maximum speech articulation is between 2 and 3K. 2.5 hertz. K-hertz is the sweet spot. Now, you're going to hear this many times here in a while. 2.5K, remember it. 2.5K. Now you really want to hear it? Here it goes. Pay attention. All I am doing is turning one knob on this parametric EQ. It's a parametric. That means you can change the parameters. You can't do this on most equalizers. So you ready? Here we go. I'm not turning up, down the bass or anything. I'm bringing in 2.5K. And the minute it comes to 2.5K, you're going to know it. It's just the sweet spot. Wow. Now an F and an S, a P and a B, they're all very, very understandable. And you say, well, I don't need no darn EQ. Yes, you do. Because if you didn't have any EQ, I'm going to take it off. This is flat. This is what your signal sounds like if you don't use equalization. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. And and should you have any doubts, you wanna argue with these guys? No, it changed the world. Let me get that 2.5 back up there, drives me nuts to listen to that. All I did was turn up 2.5, sounded like I turned down the bass, didn't it? Nope, that's your ears. Your ears listen to audio and a teeter-totter. They all affect the other one. Well, we have a job in front of us, or at least I did. So what I did, I was off the air for about 12 years. And when I came back on the air, I could not believe what I was hearing. What happened to my great Art Collins audio when I left you guys? Mercy. What are you talking in, man? Oh, I got my Kenwood, or I got my Yates tube, and I got my matching microphone. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? Yeah, I got matching microphone. See? It's painted the same color. That's the only matching about these things. And it ticks me off because the manufacturers don't give a darn about how they sound. They only care about one thing. And they got it because we had to suffer and pay for it for a while. I said, I am going to do something about this. So I did. What I did is I built the very first equalizer for ham radio. It had never been done. I didn't know this. I'd been out for 12 years, but I was so disgusted as to what I was hearing up and down the bands. There it is. It's the first equalizer. 2 bands. I was the engineer. It has a low and a high. All you get to do is plus or minus, increase or decrease, not your boost. Because I figured it out. It took me a couple of years to do that, to figure out where we needed those particular frequencies. Think back about that chart that those 4,000 scientists came up with. In order for the human being to understand the spoken word properly, we needed 2.5K. And so, that filter is at 2.5K. Where's the other one? I put it at 180, 160 hertz, I think it was. You can roll off all that bass. So you're going to notch the bass and increase the treble. Well, I wrote an article. I sent it to QST, and they accepted it. Wow, I was impressed. I really was, because I'm just a little kid from Marissa. Not only did they accept it, it became the lead article of that particular magazine. And it got the cover award for July 1982. I didn't even know about cover awards. Why? Lots of articles written. And I called them one day and asked them about, was the article going to be published? And they said yes. Because it's a significant move, that was their words, in amateur radio. I said, why? Why? Because it's the first time anybody had brought anything about audio equalization, and we think it's a wonderful thing. I had sent them a sample, and they put it on the air to W1AW. They even got a second one and put it on their repeater. Repeaters are terrible. Their audios are terrible. But in those days, a lot of guys would use my equalizer in the transmit side, and it was great. Well, it changed amateur radio, and I never realized what was in front of me. In 1999, I got a letter from Dr. Inouye Communications, ICOM. He had a picture of his station. It was one of his great, at that time, IC 781. It was the first transceiver that had a screen. It was actually a CRT, remember that? That was a fantastic transceiver for the time, and even for now. A lot of the contesters really moved to that. He says, but I want to use your equalizer, because in that picture was one of these, yes, the EQ200, and my gold line. I'm going, holy smokes. I'm thinking of new radio. New radio line should have EQ200. And so we started working together. Every ICOM from the Pro 1, Pro 2, Pro 3, all the way through to the great 7300, 7610, and even this, you guys have one of these yet? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you have to buy one of these. It's just the sweetest toy I've had. Oh my goodness. I'm very blessed that working for these guys, they sent me all this stuff to work on. They sent me this because, there it is, the 705. Notice it, it's a 7300 in a little 3-pound box. Battery operated. Oh man, can you have fun with this? The only problem was, they didn't have a headset for it. That's why I have it. Well, now they do. Our little HTH works great. Now, come on here. This little guy even has a push-to-talk line. It's really cool. And I think it's $50. I don't know, I think it's 30. I'm not in sales, I just, I think it's $30. But it's not Chinese junk, you hear me? I designed every part of this, and I really didn't have everything to do with it. What's so cool about it is 3 of the guys in the plant, and my service director, Donna. If you've never met Donna, you need to know her. She's your best friend. She can fix anything, and she's not a ham. But anyway, we all put our likes and dislikes into this thing. The only thing I had to do with it was the microphone. But they did the package. It's really cool. How can we do things so inexpensively? Because we don't have $1 million payroll for engineers. We already engineers. But anyway, this is just such a delightful piece. Well, all of the icons have our equalizers in them. And one thing about ICOM, they have very low gain preamplifiers. This is very important to pay attention to. From their very first radio back in 1964, I think it was, their very, very first one, didn't even have a preamp. The 701, the 720, 730, 740, they didn't have preamps in them. They were in the microphone, and they weren't very good. It sounded terrible, but they worked. Well, they finally raised the gain in the 735, and that's when I came aboard. I'm the reason there's FM in the 735 all the way out through all their rigs, and then everybody copied them. I was the father of the FN movement, if you didn't know about that deal. When I came back into radio, been out for 12 years, CBers started coming to me to fix their CB. I had never seen.
I think we're gonna stop right there. If I may, kind of in closing on this. Yeah. So, probably several of you know that I'm kind of an audio fanatic, not maybe an audiophile necessarily, but when it comes to audio over the air, whether even just listening, hints, things like this, it kind of makes or breaks the deal, right? So I think everybody probably knows who Bob Heil is, especially after that video. But he makes good equipment for ham radio. There's obviously lots of good microphones out there for that you can use that aren't Heil microphones. But if you research and watch other videos that he's got, or just, you know, Google online, even just read papers and things. There's a lot of good information out there about how and why you should have your audio set a certain way. There's good starting points. There's, you know. So anyway, I think what I find most interesting about this is that it's sort of near and dear to my heart because in a previous life, I ran professional audio, if you will, and so it's something for me that's kind of a passion for me a little bit. I don't go overboard in my own station, but I really try to make sure that you know, don't pull your radio out of the box and just go with the default settings. You know, go in, look at your EQ settings. Even if you're cheating and finding some kind of a guide online that kind of gives you an idea that, okay, maybe I turn this down or turn this up a little bit, and then get on the air and listen a little bit. Make sure that people really they're not just telling you it sounds good. Make sure it actually sounds good. Record yourself. Listen to, you know, through somebody else's radio. You know, those kinds of things are really kind of important because it really can make a big difference. It's also kind of a pet peeve of mine. You know, when you know somebody's, you know, either got the microphone out here or they're talking to the back of the microphone, you know, like there's kind of a proper way to do, to hold a microphone and to use it and really, you know, encompass your voice into that microphone, but without being, you know, overdriven. So this is things that I think for all amateur radio operators, it's really important to just kind of keep in mind because I think I would dare say most people in this room probably never touched the EQ in the radio. They don't even know what it is or why it's in there. It's just another setting in a menu, right? Probably. And of course, back in the day when he was talking about the majority of this stuff, it was much more analog. Now it's built into the radios and things are much easier. So there's really no excuse. Everybody should be adjusting their audio and using a proper microphone, and you'll sound better and you'll be happier in the long run.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So Bob Howe used to be on Ham Nation pretty regularly. Have you ever watched Ham Nation? So Ham Nation was a regular thing every week, and if you look up Ham Nation online, you can find the ones where he starts to talk about adding an equalizer to your radio. No matter how old your radio is, you can add one to it. And he had a really good series on that on Ham Nation.
Still a tolerance there back then?
Huh? What'd you say?
Also, a lot of the radio stations use Heil mics in the studio. I know channel KECV does, but Heil, I mean, he has become a big name in broadcasting.
I mean, if you go to their website, they have a pro side and an amateur radio side.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. Next thing is a little drawing for.
We have 33 people. Everybody on here? And, you know, so you're going to win something because you always do. We'll just hand you, come here and pick what you want. Okay, you ready?
You got a number on it?
Yep, 1 to 33. First number is 23. That would be Eva Roberts. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Let's see.
Why don't you just let her pick, huh?
He wants to be in control.
Okay, the next contestant on The Price is Right is Lynn. Lynn, come on down. One time.
Whatever brought you so different.
Number 30. Give us the weapon.
Oh, of course. I've been informed these too. So here's a dry bag if you want to have equipment to carry around.
That's actually pretty cool.
Pen, this, that, multi-tool, ultravirus, or a cup you drink out of. What? Go for it.
Told ya.
If you don't like that, go with the
Give us the
tray.
weapon.
You're happy with that place you have?
Thank you.
All right.
All right. What's the next number?
The next number Shelley?
It's like a dry bag for equipment, logbook, super pen that has a little light on it, or charger, or this. Okay, sounds good. Show it off to everybody. Big time.
Okay. How did I call that? 13. She went every time.
They told me I should just start walking up. Is that lucky 13?
I like the 13.
So you have this little USB charger thing and pen, this logbook, or this is a dry bag for like putting equipment in it if you're handy talking or something.
Hey, Dee. Yeah, try this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next person is number 7. That'd be Mr. David Ricketts.
Hey, I could always use a, is that a flashlight, man?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Cool.
Those were, to go with these, we had some that, okay. Okay. Next number. Number 10, Johnny McCarlin? McCaslin, yeah.
You don't have to get up, Johnny. I'll bring it to you. One of these two things, which one do you want? This is a charger, USB sort of thing. Okay. And last item is
You can never have
USB.
enough of them. 25, that'd be David Regler? Rieger, that's an I. Okay, look like an L. But there's a little dot there.
All right, that's it.
Okay, that's it.
All right, that's it. For the testing for the tech, you're sitting right next to John. He'll show you where it's going. And John, you got enough VEs?
I can do this one.
All right, next meeting, I don't know how, April 1st, so that's not a joke, but anyway, April 1st. I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment. Adair, Peppers, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thanks everybody for coming. On April